Hi, Jonathan. Welcome to BizTalk. That's my great pleasure having you with me today. How are you?
All right, thank you, Max. Thanks for having me on the call.
The pleasure is mine. Let's talk about, give some feedback, some background, and after, of course, on some more info about your company. But let's start with your background.
All right, yeah. So I started in the education industry in 2016 as a teacher, and slowly, right now, I run the company. That's how we start. Yeah, I've been in business since 2011. So this is my second venture.
Oh, that's good. How was the first one?
Well, I did well, and then I got cocky. Yeah.
This can be common, yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. So you've done the second one. So
Yep.
let's talk about Graphite Academy.
Yes. All right. So Graphite Academy is a coding enrichment company in Singapore. What we do is we teach children ages 5 to 16 years old coding. So I mean your computer programming, your coding skills, whatever. Basically, from 5 to 16, we teach the students coding itself.
Great. I mean, let's talk about whatever you want to tell me about your business.
So maybe just let you run through the deck. This is the rough agenda for today. It's pretty fast. I always start with the us and the team. Basically the team or the company, what the opportunity is in Singapore, and ultimately APAC, because we are focusing on APAC. Company details, what the track records we have, strategic assets to dominate the market, and ultimately the use of funds. All right. So main thing we're looking at is, all right, board of advisors. I need a board of advisors because we are a pretty young team. We have a senior advisor with us, but we need people with expertise in the private education marketplace, especially from the scaling up standpoint. Investors who are interested in the private education market space, and people who knows how to scale. So take a company overseas, kind of set multiple outlets around the world. So that's what we're looking at. All right. And our ask is very simple. We're looking at 200,000 for 20% of the company. So it's a very simple ask. And let me just show you the team. So this is our current team. So right now we have 5 people full-time on board in the company. So on the top, it's myself. I've been in business since 2011. We built Graphite Academy since 2016. I'm basically focused on all these things. On the right side, you will see Wenate. Wenate is my co-founder. She started off with me as a teacher, and she has proven very useful, very strategic in the operation itself. Then we have our HR director and advisor. This is Mano. Mano has been working with some of the biggest companies in Singapore, governmental linked companies in the field of HR. So that's where he looks at our contracts, our grants and advisory. And then we have our telemarketing sales. Crystal had 10 years of customer service experience in the corporate industry, and she's now basically our BD exec in charge of telesales, BD, and social media. And I have an outsourced staff in Philippines. She's Moira. She does all our admin paperwork. And I think the interesting part of my company is we have 60 freelancers in Singapore. These freelancers work with us on a regular basis. Some of them has been with us since 2018. And these people, they teach for us. So they do the teaching, they do the curriculum, and they kind of get me industry information. All right, so that is it so far on the team. Any questions on team so far, Max?
No, I'm more curious how the use of freelancers. I mean, are they helping you only on teaching, or what do they exactly do?
Yeah, so the freelancers, what they do is they teach for us. They are called freelance teachers. They are paid on an hourly basis based upon the amount of work they do. So based upon that, it's a very lean model. On top of that, when projects come in, we will then, hey, we need some curriculum developed based upon this framework we have, you can follow that. The fascinating thing about this is we hold our freelancers very well. We are the largest freelance trainer provider in the coding market space in Singapore. So a lot of trainers stay with us. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I'll explain a little bit more in the thing. So I think a couple of questions. One of the things we noticed in basically Asia, Singapore, and APAC is many parents sign up their kids for enrichment, right? So you're familiar with this three: music, ballet, art. So a lot of times when kids are growing up, you pay money for this kind of enrichment programs, music, ballet, art, and a lot of times people end up choosing music, right? A lot of times people end up choosing music. Why music? Because music is recognized around the world. Music is something which you can develop a career out from and make a kind of like a reasonable living. So later on, as I do my presentation, you understand why I highlighted music in this particular slide over here. All right. So quick understanding, this is to be very clear, we are a K-12 education company in the coding enrichment space. So we are an education company teaching coding. All right. Opportunity, I think this speaks pretty much for itself. So this is basically, we just know in the Asia region, the global coding bootcamp market is looked to, basically it's on the rise. In fact, in Singapore, just to share a bit more, it is a new market. There are no dominant players right now. We are looking to be one of the main dominant players in the market. So it's a new market, it's up and coming, and we see it'll be around for the next, it's going to be like music, but just maybe another couple of years for it to form. All right. So here's the thing. Numbers at present, K-12 education is growing. I'm sure you're familiar with edtech companies. A lot of edtech companies are sprouting up. The education marketplace, especially in Asia, is very popular. I'm not familiar with other countries. Asia, why? Because there's a little kind of focus on the education aspect of life itself. So Asia's looking to grow big in education, and that's where we're operating. Now, this is where I come in and say the local markets, basically in Singapore, none of the players have the winning formula yet. That's why there's no market leader. And we believe we found the winning formula. We just need to get it started. All right. So right now, every single company operates like this. What they do, if you're a coding education company in Singapore, they'll say, hey, so think of this like Microsoft class resellers. What they do is, hey, I have a course on Microsoft Word. Come here, pay this fee, go home. And that's what a lot of these companies are doing. They are operating themselves like that. So example, if today I was a local company in the market, and this is how I would operate, I would say, hey, join my class for students 7 to 8 years old. I have a class on Microsoft Word. The class will last maybe 12 hours, and at the end you get a cert. That's it. That's how they operate. Now, this way of operation differs very greatly from how the music industry operates, especially in Asia, because they are linked to the ABRSM system. And that's where we're looking to change the entire, or rather we're looking to become the dominant player, leveraging on all these things itself. All right, so we are not here to replace traditional education. This is very important because we are not here to be institutes of higher learning. So if you're 17 and above, you go to university, you go to college, that's where you should go. Our focus is the K-12 market for parents itself. Okay, and this is what we're looking to build. So what we're looking to build is a recognized progressive framework for the coding markets in Singapore. All right, and not just Singapore, ultimately APAC. Basically, it's a kind of like a universal standard. For that itself, to understand this, ABRSM is very popular in Singapore. It governs all our music theory kind of lessons. So if you're learning piano, you're learning violin, you got to go through ABRSM. Now, if you're in the martial arts category, you got to go through the white belt, and then the green belt, yellow belt. So these are things what we're trying to implement into our industry so that we don't just become a player offering educational kind of courses. We become a player offering a 7-year roadmap journey where all you do is join us. By the end of your stint with us, when you graduate, you can become either a coding teacher or get advanced placements in universities and institutes of higher learning. So that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to do what ABRSM did to the music industry in Singapore and ultimately Asia. All right. So let's look at this. So our proposed solution is very simple. This is the story of Tom. Tom is a 7-year-old student. He wants to learn coding. Where does he go? He goes to the school, right? So let's example, this is our school. And what we're looking to do is by the time he's 16 years old, he passes all the grading and becomes a coding teacher. And not only did he become a coding teacher, he got advanced entry to higher education platforms, which means he got advanced entry to universities or colleges. He can skip 1 or 2 modules because he's covered the basics with us. And down the road, what happens is this Tom eventually becomes a part-time teacher in my freelance pool. Say, hey, why don't I teach your student? And then the cycle repeats. Ultimately, the one that benefits all is the company in the center, and that's what we're looking to achieve. All right, so that's what we're looking to achieve. And just quick company breakdown, we're operational since 2016. We were established in Accra, the local registry 2018. We started as a freelance training agency. So what this means is we supplied the manpower, we supplied the teachers to other players in the market. Till today, we're still supplying teachers to other players in the market. Of course, we will earn a cut of it. On top of that, we also developed curriculum. So in the early days of the company, we secured the two most important assets in any education company. Number 1, the teachers. Number 2, the curriculum. So now we have both. I dare to say we have 70% of the entire Singapore's K-12 coding curriculum in our company itself. All right. So we secured 2 critical assets. We started as a one-man operation. Revenue started from 17,000, and by 2019 it was 205,000. And this is based off a $25 to $50 revenue model generating kind of business model. So that's why I dare to say presence in 70% of local K-12 coding market. Now, we have a lot of established clients. One of them, which I think you'll be familiar with, is Marshall Cavendish. So Marshall Cavendish is a publisher in Singapore, and they're one of our clients as well. So we do have a lot of clients. All these clients, what they do is they either get teachers from us, they get curriculum from us, or they work together for us to provide workshops for them. So this is the site itself. Yep. Any question, Max, so far?
I mean, so far it's pretty clear. I mean, can we be a little bit more specified on the business model, or we can go back to this when you finish your pitching? So you are charging who is going to use your freelancers?
Yes.
What happens to the young guys start using your platform and your academy to learn coding?
Yeah, okay, so we have 2 business models primarily. One is the B2B side, one is the B2C side. So B2B side is where we operate and service schools and private companies. And what we do in that B2B side, there are 2 different models. Number 1, supply of freelancers. Number 2, direct contracts with schools. So what do I mean? So these are the schools we've covered in Singapore. Just to give you a quick one, these are schools we cover in Singapore. To date, we've covered 36.2% of the entire Singapore market. Some of these schools, you may not be familiar, but these are reputed schools in Singapore. These are number 1, number 2, number 3 schools. They actually engage our service for coding education itself. So business model-wise, the B2B side, it's very simple. We provide trainers and we supply programs to schools. So these are some of the schools we have. All right. B2C side is very simple. What we do at B2C side is we provide courses for the general public.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the general model. So what makes us different is these are the strategic assets we have to dominate the market. The biggest one right now is the network of trainers we have. Because they are freelance, they go around, and because we look after them, there is kind of information that comes back. We are very clear on what our competitors are doing. So that's something that other players in the market does not have. Second is we are represented by a governing body in Singapore. I'm actually the branch treasurer in this body where we look out for freelancers. And that's where we get the kind of core itself. Let me just show you the roadmap so you have a rough idea of how it works. So phase 1 is done. We have industry know-how. We got proof of concept. We went from a company supplying trainers to a company that offers programs to the schools and the general public. So both ways. So think of it like an enrichment center, right? And we have established a very strong presence in the local Ministry of Education schools. So Singapore has 353 schools. We're in about 120 of them. All right. And right now we ventured into private markets. So if you check out our Facebook, our social media, we have private programs running on a regular basis at our either online or in our classes. All right. And right now so now we're at phase 2. We are looking to establish accreditation based upon reputed sources. We want to be the sole player that offers proper recognized accreditation, and we want to be the dominant player for this itself. And then after that, we're going to expand to a kind of like a flagship store. Once you have the flagship store, then we'll move to phase 3, which is EdTech company. We are looking to then make sure our programs are hybrid because the EdTech formula works. Most of them are either tech, most of them are either ed. We want to make sure we can do both. And then after that, parent and student community, VR worlds, franchising, and ultimately, we want to make sure there's global connectivity for students within our network. All right. So use of funds is simple. One of the main thing is we're looking to expand into a flagship store outlet-wise. So it's basically a physical outlet. That's where all our programs will run. And then we'll need a curriculum development team because right now curriculum is developed by myself or my partner. And down the road, marketing and branding and different other miscellaneous fees. I think that's it so far, Max. So I think you've got a couple of questions. I hope I can answer them to your satisfaction.
Of course. First of all, let me thank you for the explanation, the very clean and clear picture of your company. I mean, let me ask you a couple of questions, and I'm very keen to the questions. So for me, it's a very nice spot to be now.
Yeah.
And I mean, first of all, the age of the, let's say, young boys and girls, it's very,
Yes.
they are very young. I mean,
Yes.
7, 8, up to 16. How exactly you adapt your method to this very young age?
Our coding lessons, actually, we've been doing them since 2016. So we have different trainers, different trainer pool, different methodology, different platforms that we teach that generally falls under the umbrella of coding. So what happens is at children's 5 and 6, they do screenless coding. All right, so that means there's no screens. All right, 7 to 8, basically all the way till 10, they do block-based. So instead of text coding, which is what your developers are familiar, they do a watered down version, which is like a puzzle. So then they'll drag and drop, drag and drop. It's very simple. It's open source as well, so it's easy for the kids. It's also very nice. So I can show it to you, but it's actually by MIT. Yeah. Yeah, right. And then after that, from 11 onwards, we do text-based coding. So there is a progression in place. There is a roadmap in place to make sure different students of different age groups are able to grasp the concepts of coding itself.
Thank you. Okay, when it comes to, you work with many universities, but how can you be, how, if I'm coming to your academy, okay, and I finish my course, I'm 16, I want to go to university, can I use my graduation from your academy for any universities, only the one you are accredited?
Yeah, so right now, that's where I come in and say I right now, if you graduate today, you will not get it. It doesn't do anything for you, but what we're building, I'm very confident to say in the next 2 to 3 years, it will be there. When you graduate from our programs, you should be able to skip 1 or 2 modules.
Okay.
Yeah, so that one's I'm keeping under wraps because I got the details. We got the strategic assets in place. Basically the strategic connections we have, they're all in place to make sure I can skip 1 or 2 modules.
Oh, that's a good help. But I do believe it can also be good because anyway, you're providing these, I mean, the people coming to your platform a good knowledge, right? So when they go to university, they will be more prepared, I suppose.
Yes, yes. So the idea is if they join us, there are 2 kind of career pathways they can go. Number 1, by the time they graduate, they can become a coding teacher in Singapore. So right now we're in Singapore, right? So they can become a coding teacher, which means like a lot of private music educators, when they finish their ABRSM education, they got MD piano teachers, violin teachers on their own capacity. So that's number 1. So right now there is no such kind of system in the coding industry because it's new, right? We believe we are the one to kind of push this through because we have the teachers, we have the curriculum, we have the connections in schools, and we kind of have the connections in the necessary kind of governmental bodies. So that's what we are looking at. All right. And so that's the first pathway. The second pathway is you can go to higher education and hopefully you can skip 1 or 2 modules that get you basically in a kind of advanced position compared to your peers.
I mean, when it comes to, I mean, let's say, again, I'm 16 and finish your course. May I start teaching by my own or I should teach with your platform?
Teach with me. You can teach with me because we hold kind of like the majority of the jobs in Singapore, majority of the freelance training jobs. Or if you don't want to teach with me, go and teach yourself. But what happens is you will ultimately come back to me.
Because you get the platform.
Yes, and because what happens is people have tried, our trainers have tried doing it on their own. They cannot create a full-time income on their own unless it's through a company like ours. And there are competitors like us, but we're the biggest in the market.
I mean, I do believe in training, and after when I finish my graduation, let's say with your academy, I can start teaching. That's very helpful, actually.
Yeah.
Jobs as well.
Yeah. So that's where I believe parents will pay for this. Because right now, what's happening in the market, we feel, because you see, I'm not here to solve a kind of like a business problem. We are kind of solving an industry problem. And the problem is this one. A lot of companies, or rather all the companies in Singapore that offers coding as a K-12 enrichment subject, so 5 to 16 years old, they tell you, hey, join my class. My class is on Microsoft Word. learn 12 hours and you will get a cert. Now, this cert is issued by them. It does nothing it does nothing really. And it's like any other run-of-the-mill workshops. You get a cert that has no value. What we want to do is want to be the accredited body. So the accredited body that holds the kind of like the credibility of the certification, as well as the training provider for it. So it's two things. And the necessary steps are already in place. Yeah.
I mean, how much is established coding teaching in Singapore, and I suppose after your next step is going to be Asia as a whole? Because in Europe, I have to be honest, if I go to some parents and talking to them about coding teaching, maybe they will stop in music, art, and something else. But coding, coding is something out of mind. So how strong is the coding teaching exactly as can be music, right? Because there's a very
all right. So what happens is there is a global shortage of IT graduates, basically qualified IT graduates, right? And what happens is what we do in Singapore is the government has mandated. So the government has mandated that right now coding education is compulsory for student ages 10 and above. So I repeat again. Yeah, so the government has mandated, Singapore government has mandated that coding education is compulsory for students ages 10 and above. That's why we have the kind of the working relationship with so many schools. All these are primary school, secondary school, basically schools that are basically students who are 5 to 12, 5 to 16, all right? So 7 to 16, right? So all these schools have a government mandate that says you must do coding in your subjects, all right? But it's only 10 hours a year. Now, that aside, there is a general trend in Asia where coding is become very popular in the Asia market. So if you walk around today in Singapore, you go to a mall, you go to a kind of like a community area, there should be 1 or 2 coding centers offering coding education for kids from 5 to 16 years old. However, all of them are running on this model. This one, what is it? Yeah.
You showed me before.
Yeah, they're running on the, I got Microsoft Word, come and learn Microsoft Word with us. It doesn't work, you see, because yes, you can get students, but then their burn rate is, their burn rate is, they sign up for like a year and then they go. So if I'm running an education company, that's not what I want to do, because the most successful education companies are the schools run by the government in Singapore. The student stays for 7 years. So my objective creating this accreditation system, the ABRSM system, whatever system there is to make sure the students stay in the center for the next 7 years. If I can keep them for 7 years, I have one customer, one marketing cost, and then it's a lifetime payment for 7 years.
Yeah, it's going to be a beautiful car TV, the best car connect TV ever.
Yeah, sure. So that's where what we're looking to achieve. Yeah.
May I ask, what about your collaboration with schools? I mean, if computing is compulsory now, it's mandatory, are you working with them?
Yes.
Or you are competing with them?
No, we are working with them. So what happens is the government's mandate is it's only 10 hours in a school year. So I repeat again, it's only 10 hours in a school year, which means every school in Singapore has to do a coding education 10 hours in a school year. Now that 10 hours is usually outsourced to contractors like us.
Okay.
Which means, so it's outsourced to contractors like us. So we provide the service. In fact, as we speak, tomorrow we have 3 classes running in schools. 3 classes of 40 students each in schools. And that's how it works. So they outsource it to contractors like us. What happens is these schools become a base revenue flow for our company.
Okay.
So they become a base revenue flow, right? Yeah.
I mean, that's more related to business model. This is from 7 to 16 students. Is someone 25 who wants to start coding? If myself 50 almost, because I'm turning 49 in a month and a half. I want to start coding because now everything it's about coding. Okay. What happens? May I come to you? Do you have any model?
Right now, we are not focused on that because to do that, we are then competing with the universities in Singapore we are competing with the higher education in Singapore. So I don't think I'm good enough to compete with those guys. But in the K-12 private market space, I believe parents are willing to pay, and they have already shown that they're willing to pay for coding programs in Singapore. The idea is we want to keep them in for 7 years.
Okay, I mean, in terms of, I'm asking you again, when we talk about a bit more in scaling, how do you market your business? Because there's more parents' decision than, of course, student decision.
So right now, our main marketing channels are, or rather, we haven't really started marketing our services to the B2C market. I'll be up from you, but we are getting students. We're getting a stream of students coming in just from word of mouth. All right, so we have very good reviews. A lot of our reviews are not on your regular social media because we haven't had the system to kind of collect them. We have a lot of WhatsApp messages, a lot of screen grabs of good testimonials from different parents. So that's the B2C side. From the B2B side, which means where we go to schools, we have the telesales, so Crystal. So Crystal is in charge of basically getting involved with the teachers, getting the leads in, making sure our programs are in. So that's Crystal over there. And then, of course, there's myself and Wena that goes out and gets sales from the schools. When we talk about scaling, so let's talk about scaling. The 353 schools in Singapore is not enough to scale because I can have a base cash flow, but it doesn't create a explosive growth. What we want to do ultimately is to franchise the business around Asia, right? So if you look at here, we are looking to franchise right on phase 3 franchising is there. Before we even start franchising, then there will be a little DevOps required on building an online platform with basically a website to kind of help integrate the learning process so that it's not just education offline. We do both online and offline. It's a hybrid model. Does that make sense here? Yeah.
Oh, of course. I mean, I do believe there is a different way to scale online, which is probably more scalable than offline. How does it work with offline programs?
Offline programs, you got to have an outlet. So you have to have a retail outlet. Usually what happens is for students 5 to 16, basically under 12 years old, they probably still need the retail outlet because they need a classroom, right? Yeah. 12 years old onwards, we can then slowly transition them to online. And this kind of transitional model is what we're trying to do, which means we may not need many classrooms. You see? We won't need many classrooms. We'll need just enough to take care of the 5 to 12 years old. Yeah.
Okay. So you want that's the entire business model. You're going to move to scale around Asia.
Yes. So what happens is when we go to scale, we are looking to have maybe a kind of small office, a very small office to have a local team set up first. The local team setup will then you leverage on the online platform, all right, to conduct trial programs, introductory programs. And then if the parents say, hey, I'm interested, I want to sign up, come down to our classes, come down to our retail outlet. So it's a loop. So they come down to our retail outlet, they like the outlet, they stay, and then we transit from online, offline. We keep them within the loop, within the community. So that's what we're doing. Right now in the market, a lot of people are full online or full offline. Our go-to model is in between. That means we are not full online, we are not full offline, we are somewhere in between. And this helps to transit not just from the pandemic issue, but to transit into kind of like a more flexible, digitized world. Just to give you a quick example, to trial classes, which means a lot of times in local markets, we give trial classes at no cost or a very small fee. My company, we do it pure online. We don't do it in our centers. So we told them, all right, all trial classes, don't go to my outlet, you go online.
I mean, I do believe at least up to 10, 12 students, they should be together. They should work together. They need to some kind of real interaction, okay?
Yes.
You can go fully online, and I do agree. And as I do agree that this hybrid model is the best one you can use by far.
Thank you. Thanks for that.
I do think so. I mean, a little bit more on your scaling. The 200K now is for established accreditation in the private market. And
well, no. And
scaling
flagship store. Yeah, I need a flagship store because right now we have a small outlet. So the 200,000 is for two things. The first thing is a flagship store. The flagship store will be the store we use for people to come, hey, you want to franchise this? This is what you do. This is the concepts. These are the things you're looking at. So these are the things you want to follow. This is my brand deck. This is my brand book. Follow it. This is the steps. This is the thing you need to be in place. So that is the flagship store's objective serves two purposes. Number one, getting students through the door, getting paid clients. Number two, getting interested franchisors to come and see what it looks like, how can it be operated. And finally, it's for the actually accreditation. Accreditation really boils down to how I network within the local markets and ultimately the education body. So I don't think that requires much cost unless we have to pull in like an advisor or somebody like a professor to say that, hey, this program is great. Other than that, I don't think it's much cost. The two costs will be franchising and getting it to the hybrid edtech version.
Okay. I mean, have you any concern about what's happening in China? Are you going to China as well?
I wanted to go to China, and then now they say you can't. Yeah, but honestly, without China, APAC is very big. To give you a big understanding on APAC, our client, even though we've only operated in Singapore, where's my clients? So our client. So if you look at this one, this is so you look at this deck over here, you see this company that's called IQ Education.
Mm-hmm.
They're an Indonesian company based in Indonesia, in Jakarta, backed by Sequoia.
Yeah, I know well.
Yeah, they purchased our curriculum.
I know well. I mean, no, my point in China is because it's pretty clear to everyone China is cracking down on education, right?
Yes.
And this has been quite tough for a few startups over there. So this can give you any concern?
Yeah, it did. So what happens is right now our immediate plans are not to go to China. I have friends in China who are in the same exact industry as myself, which means they're running coding centers in China. On an enrichment standpoint, they mentioned that they are still allowed to conduct programs. Okay. This is from the ground in China. However, they don't know what's their foreseeable future. So a lot of them are either shutting down or switching to pure online kind of programs. So that's what I understand from them. So immediately we won't be looking at China, but we're looking at Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, Thailand. This is where we're looking at Malaysia. These are the immediate surroundings we're looking at.
I mean, where do you see coding in the next 5 years, and where do you see your academy?
Yeah, so I see my academy as the dominant player in APAC, Asia Pac, so minus China, because I don't know whether China's coming in, right? And one of the things we see coding is, I believe coding will be as big or even bigger than music. I know that's a big thing to say because in the UK, music is huge. You guys got universities built around music. That's where I believe the coding market will be as big or even bigger than music, because what's going to happen is everybody needs tech today, right? Yeah. And tech offers a kind of like a different kind of a kind of like a necessary skill set to thrive in the next 10, 20 years. We have 12 years old out of London making $300,000 a year from selling digital artworks. I'm not sure if you've seen that news. Yeah. So that's where I come in and say, hey, why don't we become the dominant player? We become the go-to, and we establish an internationally recognized accreditation so that it's not just from me. It's not just from me. It's not just from my company. It's from an international recognized body that is recognized by the biggest tech companies in the world. And if I can do it right, I'll position our company to be the go-to training partner of that kind of arrangement itself.
I totally agree. Coding is going to be probably even bigger than music, just because it will be much easier to find a job with coding than play music.
Yeah. And it's one of the highest paid jobs in the world now. So.
Yeah. But also, let me say, without coding, there won't be any more innovation, because now everything is based on tech. We have all our economy mostly going through technology. So we don't have coding, how we can improve technology, okay? So pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Let me close, as I like to do, with any message to investors. Why they should give you the money?
Yeah, because I'm the only player in Singapore right now, and I dare to say that because I have a lot of information coming in from my network of trainers. So what happens is because of my network of trainers, I'm very, if today you're a new coding trainer, the chances of you bumping into my company in Singapore is pretty much 80-90%. A lot because right now in the trainer market space, we're the biggest player. So you kind of run away from me. So that's number one. Number two, we are the only one with the resources not the resources, the strategic connections and the time, because most of the players in the market are either in for a quick buck. I'll be frank, they're either in for a quick buck or they're in because most of them are techie students and they say, hey, tech is a great thing to teach. So not everyone has the business background we have. Not everyone has the strategic connections we have. And this too makes it super powerful because I also have the time to make sure I get all these things done because I got a team. Everybody else is not getting it done. So I don't know why nobody else in Singapore has looked into this. A lot of them have tried, but they've gone, I believe, not the right way. We are very well positioned to become one of the biggest players in Singapore, ultimately Asia, because of the way we have structured our business.
Jonathan, thank you very much for your time and for with me today in BizTalk. And I really enjoyed talking to you, and it's been a very great pleasure having you with me.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Max. I know it was great to be on BizTalk. Hopefully, we get some good news from anyone.
I'm sure you will. Thank you very much. Have a good day.